the axe. And we're gonna split down some of the wood. So we may use a froe to take round wood and split it down into radial pieces, and then split that even further until we have a nice billet that we can use to produce some sort of object. Today I think we're just gonna look at spatulas because those are pretty easy to work with. So this skill, you can also do what Mark was just doing with the froe with an axe. Just putting the axe on the piece of wood. A small billet like this could produce a fair number of things. We could produce multiple spoons potentially, a spatula, a handle for something like maybe an axe handle, some butter knives. There's a whole range of things you could use just this piece of wood to produce. One thing we're looking for mainly is this piece of wood has some pretty funky grain movement. How the grain's pretty wavy. There's a knot down here. Looks pretty difficult to deal with. We're analyzing the wood, trying to figure out what the path of least resistance is. Just based on what I'm seeing here, I'm gonna choose this piece of wood. I'm gonna think about how I wanna place the spatula on this piece of wood. I think I'm gonna use all of that. So I'm gonna cut this off real quick with a saw. So when we're using an axe that's in this sort of confined motion and area, it is important to have not only good posture, but to stand in such a way that if you miss your object, that you won't end up putting the axe into your body. Standing with a good size, good height surface to chop on top of. In a standing posture is to put the leg of your dominant hand back and then lean onto your other leg and to chop over the block so that if I miss the wood, most likely the axe will hit the block. If I miss the block, most likely the axe will swing past my leg. So if we hold close to the end of the axe, we have a powerful swing with low accuracy. And the closer we hold up to the head, we have less power, but increased accuracy. So I'm gonna take the bark off really quick. Okay. So at this stage, I just basically have a triangle, a radius of the wood. I'm just gonna determine what the best shape is for this piece of wood. And I'm just gonna, for demonstration purposes, draw the areas that I wanna remove. So all of this red wood here is gonna go. All of this wood here is gonna go. So in the end, I'll be left with this thin rectangular strip. So now that I know that, I can basically visualize all of that material down an imaginary line needing to be removed, and all the material down this imaginary line needing to be removed. Well, there's really only two ways to swing the axe. There's just chopping, like this, and then there's what's called a hewing cut, where we use the axe to make what's called a kerf, which is basically a stop cut. It's a short cut along the length of our total cut that sets a depth that we want to work to, and also stops any further cut along the length. Basically stops the fibers from splitting further, and that chunk will just fall right off. So this is called a hewing cut, where we make kerfs to the desired depth all along the length of the wood, and then we chop back down through those kerfs, and we're able to remove a lot more wood a lot more efficiently than if we were to just chop away at that. So take a lot away at first, and then we'll slowly refine our movement. Move to the other side. I tend to use my forefinger and my thumb to stabilize the top of the wood. I'm always trying to swing at a 90-degree angle to my chopping block, and I don't want to swing at any other angles to hit the wood. So to get the different angles on the wood, swinging at 90 degrees to the block, but I'm angling the wood. Okay, so now I've got a decently flat piece of wood compared to what we started with. I can pretty much go ahead and determine the shape of what it is I want to make. So I'm actually going to follow the course of this fiber and make sort of a shape to the spatula. That way the fibers will follow the entire shape of the object. And that's something you can do with anything, spoons or whatever it is you're carving. If you utilize the shape of the fiber to the advantage of your final product, it'll be a lot stronger. Another technique you can use is the edge of the block to chop into angles like this, corners. I can set that corner basically and then chop down from this side, and hopefully those fibers will just pop right out once the split hits. We can also use the saw again at this stage to saw curve cuts, and this will make it a lot easier. You can even saw two of them. That way, if I'm chopping from the top, the split will hit this one and pop out. And if I swing too far, I won't be able to establish a crack that goes into the bowl. So I'll just make these last two cuts, and then we can all, whoever is interested, I have 4 axes here, and we can just kind of all go around and try. I've just roughed out a very rough version of my final product, and what I'll do from now is I'll go through and draw some of the profile of it. So maybe I want it to be this thick. I want the handle to taper up this way. Then I can determine again all the wood I want to remove with the axe further. So again, just working down to a higher and higher resolution of the final product.